I haven't got time to mark this motherfucker. Here we go again. We can't hear anybody. Nobody can talk to anybody.
You guessed it, Pressure Points with your two favorite hosts. I'm D, and this is Giveaway J. We're coming at you with Season 7, Episode 8, The Lebensborn of Norway. AJ is going to be performing his favorite ABBA songs. And honey, I'm still free, so take a chance on me and find us on Instagram, Patreon, and pointsopressure.com. Let's get to it, baby!
Well, turn the fucking thing off, you dumbass.
I just need you to take a chance on me.
I'll think about it.
On this episode.
I'll think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your episode. I don't have to take a chance on you. You're already taking that chance. Welcome back.
Welcome. I will apologize. This is a horrifically depressing episode, and it's all my wife's fault.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because she's like, oh, you should do this. She sounds just like that.
Yeah, no. She does. That's true.
No, it's just I can only do one voice other than mine, and it's that one.
It's that one.
Yeah.
This is actually very true.
Yeah, so how's your week been?
Oh, it's been okay. Yeah. It's been all right. Nothing,
chilling?
Nothing crazy. Nothing wild or anything.
Nice.
Yours? About the same?
About the same. Took a little road trip a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I think.
A couple days for them.
Yeah, a couple days for them, and it was nice. Went to some what's it called? Silver Island Mountains, north of Wendover.
Nice.
And it was great. There was a snowstorm, which wasn't that great to drive home in the blizzard. But other than that, it was great. Yeah, it was nice to just we just needed to get out of the house. Because it's the first time there was any good weather. And I say good weather, and it ended in a blizzard.
Until it fucking wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old
no, it was
Utah
good. March. Shit's on it. Keep you on your toes.
Yeah, so we found a place. There's a place called Danger Cave, which is awesome. It's a beautiful place. It was inhabited by indigenous people when the desert that's out there was still marshy.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people in there for thousands of years inhabiting this place. So it's a huge archaeological site. It's like blocked off. You can't get into it, but you can see in. And when we were looking in, there's like a trail cam at the door. There was like
that's the one that has like the full-on like prison gate.
Yeah.
In it. Yeah.
But you could see like survey archaeological dig sites just there.
Mm-hmm.
And gear. There were helmets. There was a table with like gear on it.
Damn.
Just being actively, worked on. And then down on like the informational sign, the historical marker, it mentions Jukebox Cave. And I was like, I've never heard about that. There's nothing on the maps in this area called anything like that. So I'm like, okay, they must have another like archaeological site that's just kind of hidden away. Because that's pretty common in archaeological sites. They don't tell anybody about it unless you're reading the papers, like the research. Because it just stops vandals from coming in and fucking it up, which sucks that they have to do that. But we were just driving around, and we saw this little sign, and it just says no motor vehicles. And behind it, there's a big wash where all these rocks are just kind of coming down. And I can just see at the top a little arch. I'm like, there's a cave up there. Betcha anything. So I walked up the wash. Turns out there was a super easy trail path that I just couldn't see from the bottom. So it was kind of a bitch to get up there. But I got up there, and it was the same setup with a trail cam and everything. So I found Jukebox Cave, which was super cool.
Hey, hell yeah.
Well set up and everything. And then just on the ground below that cave, I found, in the span of like 3 seconds, there's a little piece of bone, which is, we have a lot of those. We just picked those up. I don't know why. But there was a fossil of like a shell and a piece of petrified wood. In like 3 seconds, we saw those. And those were the only things we found, but...
Somebody found all of them and just put them in like
threw
one place. Yeah. They were like,
this trash.
We'll just leave these here.
No, but it was really cool. It's a cool spot. And, yeah, it was nice.
Oh, yeah. Not bad. Good stuff.
But welcome, new listeners.
Yeah.
Welcome, old listeners.
Yeah.
Welcome, young listeners.
And old. So, last week, we announced it. And this week, we're going to go over everything. If you go to our Instagram, there is a new post that points out that we're doing a giveaway. It goes from what is to you guys today, Monday, March 4th, and it goes until Monday the 11th. You can choose any piece of merch that's in our store, shop.pointsofpressure.com. If you win, you need to make sure on that post on Instagram that you follow us, that you like the post, tag 2 of your friends, share the post to your story, and then the people that do that will be entered into the giveaway. We'll go through and we'll select randomly one person. We'll put it into a numbers generator, come out with a name, and we'll reach out to you directly. You will only be reached out to by our account at PointsOPressure on Instagram. Nobody else. So if somebody else reaches out and it says like the PPD and AJ, that ain't it. It's just from us that we'll reach out to you, and then you have 7 days to respond to us, or we're going to choose somebody else. So we'll reach out on 3/11, March 11th. So keep your eye out, and yeah, go to it, do all the stuff. Remember, you have to follow us, like the post, tag 2 of your friends, share it to your story, and that'll put your name in the fucking giveaway.
Yeah, it's standard, fare for an Instagram giveaway. Be careful, people scam, they're assholes. But yeah, you get to choose anything in the shop. We'll message you and say, hey, what do you want? Yeah. And then you can choose the color, we'll can choose the size. Yeah, we'll send you a link so you won't even give us your information. Yeah. You'll tell us what item you want, and then we'll send you a link. That'll let you choose the color, put in all your shipping address, we'll pay for it, and it just gets sent to your house. So
So we won't have any of your personal information.
If you're worried about that.
Except for like your social security number, no big deal.
Yeah. No, but and depending on how many people enter, there might be some bonus prizes, maybe some mugs or something. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. We're excited.
Keep an eye out for it. And
our yearly giveaway.
Help us to help you. Our second ever yearly
annual giveaway.
But yeah.
We're excited. This is probably the bigger giveaway, I think. This is the biggest giveaway.
The biggest one we've done. Yeah. Before it was just stickers.
Some stickers, some little packs and stuff. But no, this is a big deal.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, go to the little link on our page to make sure, because you got to check to make sure you follow us. So click on the link. Go to our website, check out our Patreon. We have some extra stuff on there. We do have an exclusive that will be free to all coming this month, and it won't be on the very, very last day of March.
Well, we'll see.
I'll get it out before then. So, yeah, go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/PointsOPressure. We do an exclusive episode every single month. We have some sloppy seconds, like 30 plus on there. AJ's working on a series called Voices. So check it all out. We would greatly appreciate it if you guys support us that way and drive some traffic to those websites. And, pointsopressure.com, like I said in the intro. So, we appreciate all of your support that you guys have done for us. Over the last 6 seasons. So this one's going to be a big one. We appreciate it.
Ad-free since
93.
93, yeah. So, Lebensborn of Norway is the title of this episode, as you know. And I was clued in on this by my wife, and she was like,
on your drive home, wasn't it?
Yeah, just on the drive home from that trip. She was like, oh, did you know that this person from this musical group is part of this weird thing? I heard about it on a podcast. And I'm like, you...
Well, this is a fucking cheater.
She's listening to somebody else's podcast. They didn't actually talk about this. They just briefly mentioned it.
She listens to and gets off to someone else's podcast.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm a podcast cuck.
In the same house as both of us.
Right?
Jesus Christ.
I can't believe it.
I'm a podcast cuck. While she listens, you stand in the closet and
I watch her listen to the other podcast. Actually, she's given me a lot of good ideas from listening to other podcasts that have been implemented into this podcast.
Man, it's too bad she's so shy, or we could just bring her on as a fucking guest for the show. She would never do it.
No.
But
maybe
social media manager. The offer's still out there.
if we do a true crime episode and it's a case that she knows about, she'll come on. She said
sorry.
so.
True crime. No,
We did.
about it. No.
Jonestown counts as true crime.
Nah, different.
And
Just-
we've done
no,
a
it's
lot of true crime, but one per season. That's the limit.
Yep. One 2-parter per season.
Yeah, exactly. But we never do those.
No, I mean,
But yeah,
that's something
I
good.
think,
I don't give a
think-
shit if it's true crime.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on with notes. Do an episode on it. Wow me. Try
me. If you don't impress me, then you're getting out of
you're
here.
moving out.
All right, so let's jump right in.
Yeah. 10 minutes in. We're jumping right in.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Hey, most podcasts, you have to fast forward through the first 7 minutes to get through the ads.
And you still would have had 2 for us.
Yeah.
No. Ad-free. Since
Ad-free
93.
Since 93.
Take it away.
All right, everyone knows that Nazis are, racist, delusional eugenicists.
What?
Yeah, right?
News to
Also,
me.
World War II Nazi episode, bread and butter, right here.
I mean, do I ever expect anything else? No.
No. But for the most part, people just hear about, the concentration camps, targeting the Jews, the homosexuals, the disabled, and political prisoners. There was a lot more of shit going on to meet their eugenic, master race goals.
Okay.
So I wanted to talk about one of these programs that involves that. So especially because a lot of these they have these huge effects after the war that are just, still to this day are affecting people. So the Lebensborn translates to the fount of life.
Okay.
And it's an organization formed by Heinrich Himmler, OG, friend of the show. In December,
regular guest.
regular guest. It was formed in December 1935. And are you doing okay? You got a little stick in your back?
Yeah, a little itchy back.
Oh, I get it. All right. So it's a state-supported organization to combat Germany's falling birth rate. See, since World War I, Germany has basically their birth rate has just been dropping because a lot of men died in World War I, leaving a lot of single mothers, but also leaving, not a lot of people to get married
Well, on
and
top
have
of
kids.
that,
Plus the horrible economic depression.
The economy is fucking destroyed, and I don't know if you know much about the economy, but when it's fucking bad, people don't tend to have children.
Yeah.
It's an extra cost.
And this is before alt-right conservatism, so abortions were just allowed, which is crazy.
Really?
How dare they?
Huh. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
so the abortion rate was really high because people were like, I don't want to bring a kid into this. Like, I can literally build a house made of this money and not be able to afford bread with the same amount of money.
It's cheaper to throw myself down a flight of stairs than to have a child.
Yeah, exactly. So
Especially when your healthcare is socialized. It's fucking perfect.
perfect. Yeah.
Jesus.
So because of that, Heinrich Himmler steps in, and Himmler's an old pervert. Like, we talk about this guy all the time.
What?
He's a fucking weirdo. He really. I do believe that there were a lot of people, a lot of Germans who bought into the whole Nazi party thing for their job, for political reasons, for power reasons, for, because they would have gotten shot otherwise.
Yeah.
This is not one of those guys. This guy's like, I'm for the
Yeah.
Aryan master race.
Piece
Like,
of shit.
yeah, exactly.
Ye old Nazi piece of shit.
So they're sitting there thinking, how do we make people have more babies, but they have to be perfect, pure Aryan babies? They have to meet our
What year is
eugenic
this?
goals. 1935.
35.
Yeah. So they did this. It starts kind of as a social program. They open these houses. They're usually in small villages outside of large cities, where if you're a single unmarried woman and you get pregnant, instead of just getting an abortion, you can go to these houses. We'll take care of you. You can have the baby, and if you want, you put that baby up for adoption. And
if
then,
it has blonde hair, blue eyes.
yeah.
If it comes out with brown hair, brown eyes, we'll put it up for adoption for you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
We'll put it up for Auschwitz adoption for
Auschwitz
you.
adoption. And they it really became this like, they'll take care of you because you can't have a job because you're hiding. You can just say, "Oh, I was traveling the countryside," and you're avoiding that social stigma that young women would have. You could come back and pretend like you were never pregnant because that kid would be guaranteed to go to a good, affluent German family.
Yeah. Jesus.
Or literally a concentration camp.
Yeah,
or if it was
on how
disabled,
it
they just
came
kill
out,
it right
yeah.
there. So it started off as, it's a social service. Like that's to avoid this like embarrassment and this social stigma. Then, basically the women had to prove that the father was of Aryan descent.
How?
I don't know.
How the fuck do you prove that?
You just say he was of Aryan descent. I don't know. The Nazis did things really weird.
Yeah.
But basically, they had such good record keeping to a point you could just say, "Oh yeah, it was this guy," and they would be able to look him up because they were keeping track of like ancestry and shit like that.
Yeah.
So they had a huge database
Interesting.
from the most recent census that tracked like ancestry and stuff like that. So they knew they had that's how they were able to identify people of Jewish descent.
It's just like what you show up with like your 1935 like.
It's a vial of cum.
Yeah, test it. I took
that's
clippings,
Aryan.
Took clippings of his hair. See, it's blonde. It's not mine, I promise.
Yeah. So it started off like that. And you know what? It's a social service. They're helping women avoid a stigma that is ridiculous and still around and, to a point, depending on where you are. And then it kind of gets weird because Himmler and the League of German Girls.
Yeah, wow, who could have ever expected that? Nazi Germany going from something that, I'm not saying the Nazi Germany ever would have had something beneficial, but turning a social program into something bad? No. What?
Yeah. So the League of German Girls was encouraged to recruit women for this program, for the Lebensborn program, who were good breeding partners. Basically what would happen is the Lebensborn program had volunteers. They had to be like SS officers for the most part, and those are dudes.
Yeah.
They can volunteer. Then young women are recruited.
Oh, okay. So it's like a forcible
So now it
recruited
becomes
sperm donation program.
It kind of, at this point, it's
Virtually
volunteers.
just a brothel.
Where basically you as SS officer get paired up with Fraulein, whose genetics are proven to be good.
Yeah.
You guys bone, and then you never have a responsibility as a father. She doesn't even necessarily have responsibility as a mother because she can give up the kid.
And they're going to send it to an Aryan family anyway.
Exactly.
I see. So it's like I can't think of the word, but yeah, like
it's almost like surrogacy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's almost like
I was
that.
like, what the fuck? Like, what's the word? Yeah. So
yeah. So that
Germany
was
is running
kind of
a fucking Aryan like.
It's basically a puppy mill for humans. It's a human mill.
Yeah, human mill.
And it kind of like.
Little breeding program.
We talk about it later about that. It wasn't at this point, as far as we know, as far as we have any evidence for, it wasn't forced breeding. It was more societally coercive breeding.
Yeah, they're like, hey,
No, because they would like
you
reward.
have great childbirthing hips.
Well, the propaganda at this
hair.
time was, you as a woman, the best thing you can do for the fatherland, for Germany, is to have as many kids as possible. They had the Cross of Honor of the German mother was this like huge award, this military award that you would give to the people who had the most kids, to the women who had the most kids. Also, it was kind of like they tried to make it like an empowering for women, like, hey, you're doing all this stuff.
It would make sense with like the time period and how they viewed like women as that's their only use. I can see where they're like, what else would they do? Like it's just such an old fucking shitty
it's kind
way
of that
thinking.
matriarchal mixed with the well, what else are they gonna? Yeah, exactly.
It's just a breeding pool. Fuck it. Let's use them for what the nation sees them good for.
Yeah. So then
As
these
unfortunate
kids,
as that is,
these kids are kept within these facilities for a little bit before they get baptized and then sent off to an SS family for the most part.
Yeah.
They also lessened restrictions on abortion if they could show that the kid was disabled or not perfectly Aryan.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
You're 10 centimeters.
It was encouraged.
You're fucking dilating. They're like, ooh, that hair's brown.
Yeah. And then it was then made illegal if the abortion would target a racially pure, in air quotes, fetus.
Huh.
So it was do it, but if it's blonde hair, blue-eyed, Germanic,
you're in some.
You cannot get rid of this. But it doesn't matter because as soon as you give birth, they can take that baby away and you'll never see him again. So you don't want him.
I don't know if you have this in your notes. The families that they were giving these kids to, were they families that couldn't have kids? Were they families
potentially,
that more or less a foster home? Was it a tax write-off kind of situation? What was the situation? Or was it just they would send it to figurehead families so that they can use it for further propaganda? Hey, this family's adopted 5 children this year.
All of the above.
Oh, okay.
It was, families who couldn't have kids, families who had kids, but they were affluent Germans, so they would be able to, take in all these kids. And I do believe that there was it was a tax benefit or a stipend, depending on how many kids you had, to help encourage that growth. Because they were doing everything they could to help their falling birth rates, especially at this point when the propaganda is so, we're the master race, but we're not even at replacement levels.
Yeah.
So they're trying to combat that.
Okay.
So a little bit of everything. It really became a huge propaganda point, of course. So Himmler came out, I think the next year, and kind of set out the goals publicly of this organization. It's to support racially, biologically, and hereditarily valuable families and many children, or with many children. So they would help, if you got a ton of kids, they would help you financially.
Oh, okay. Kind of like I said.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Placement and care of racially, biologically, and hereditarily valuable pregnant women who, after thorough examination of their and the progenitors' families by the Race and Settlement Central Bureau of the SS, can be expected to produce equally valuable children. So it's, if you're going to make good kids and we can prove it genetically, then we will hook you up.
Will they pay them? Do you know if it was a paid service or it was just
for the
hey,
single women,
you're doing it for the cause kind of thing?
A little bit of both. Yeah. But for the single unmarried women, a lot of it would be, you get to stay here through the term of your pregnancy.
Yeah, you're housed. We're going to take care of you.
You got food. We're hiding
It's like
you.
having hospice.
Yeah.
I mean, it is having hospice while you're pregnant, which just fucking massive.
Yeah. Because these kids are they're planning for these kids to be the racially elite crew. This is the generation after the war. Yeah. This is going to be the purest generation. Obviously, I don't think I need to say this, but this is all from their perspective and their goals. I don't believe this, obviously, but the whole idea.
This is what they taught, was that this is going to be the most racially.
This is going to be the people who are going to be taking over for us when we're dead or retiring.
Yeah.
These are the people who are going to be running the planet.
Yeah.
So they want these mothers to be as stress-free as possible, as well-nourished as possible, best medical care possible, because they want these kids to come out as Aryan super soldier elite dudes.
So is this not technically a form of eugenics?
It's 100% eugenics.
Okay.
100%. Yeah, this is one of the cornerstones of their non-genocidal eugenics.
Okay.
Even though it is kind of genocidal.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's just that's not the main goal. And then he says, the other goals of the organization are to care for the children and care for the children's mothers. So he really comes out with this. I mean, we know it's propaganda now, but it's this mother-focused, child-focused. You guys are going to be set up. You don't have to give up the baby. You can keep it. and we're still going to help you.
So-
we're still going to set you up.
If the baby didn't come out with blue eyes, would they just get rid of it?
So they have the way the Nazis tried to do eugenics was as scientifically as they possibly could while still fitting into their delusions. So they had a scale. They actually had charts of eye colors.
It's like that fucking Family Guy picture.
It's exactly that, but with eye color and hair color. They had those.
Well, the thing,
So
hair
the kid-
color when you're born doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, because every kid's blonde. But
Yeah.
they would keep the kids for a little bit after they're born. They don't go away as babies.
Yeah,
they go
but I
away
mean,
as
I
infants.
was blonde until I was fucking 4.
Yeah.
And now I'm definitely not
blonde.
Yeah, I'm
So-
black. I don't know if
yeah,
you guys
I'm
knew
black.
this.
But yeah, they had these eye charts that they would, once the kid was old enough, because pretty much every kid comes out with really light eyes. Like the eye color changes too, just like the hair. So they would keep them and then check them.
Just
and
a
then
little daily check, daily
pretty
quality
much,
check.
Yeah, a quality check. That's
Yeah.
really it.
Eyeballs are looking a little bit more green than blue. Toss them.
Well, that's better than
Send
Yeah.
to the mines.
yes, off to the mines to you. Also, another weird thing. This is just a weird detail I found. A lot of the kids in this program who were born into this program, their family, whether it was their original family or their foster family, were given a cup for them to give them when they're old enough. It was a silver cup made of silver, and it said, "Best wishes from your godfather, Heinrich
like
Himmler."
A teacup?
Yeah,
Or-
kind of like a
okay.
teacup, more industrial
Yeah.
a little bit. And yeah, it said like best wishes from Heinrich Himmler. There was actually one
Jesus.
guy who didn't know he was one of these Lebensborn who found that cup in his mom's like shit hidden away and was like, mom, what the fuck is this?
That was Obama. I don't
That
know
was
if you guys know
Obama?
That was that was Barack Obama.
Jesus Christ. So during the war, Germany starts to occupy other countries and the Lebensborn program expands. And it changes a little bit, and more facilities were constructed. A lot of times they just go into, like, a home for the disabled, kill everybody there, and now it's a Lebensborn home.
Oi.
Yeah, not
Oi,
great.
oi, oi. That's a bad look.
So they specifically targeted people with Germanic, or areas with Germanic-related people, and just pretty much anybody who fit their criteria, who could basically pass the doctor in air quotes test, So the biggest push for these were into Scandinavian countries. So this is where I put a little side note in. Nordic Thunder, if you're listening, if you know about this, if you experienced anything related to the Lebensborn, or it's like the Tyskerbarnes in Norway. I know I said that wrong. Please
Is this
don't
the
judge
cup?
me. Yes.
Okay.
It's like a little mug.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you imagine you're just at your fucking grandma's house and she's like,
It has
"Oh, do you
your
want some
name on
hot
it, and then it
chocolate?"
says from Heinrich Himmler. Dude, I would kill to have one of these cups.
What the fuck is that, Grandma? Oh, I've always had this.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I don't know. I don't speak German.
Oh God.
So yeah, Nordic Thunder, if you know about this or if you had any experiences about this, send us a message on Patreon. I'd love to hear from you. And if you give permission, we can talk about it on the show in a future episode or on the Patreon itself. If you don't, please still share your experience and just say, hey, don't tell anybody. Because I just want to hear your experience. Because
Fucking out him.
no, what do you mean? This becomes a societal thing that is still having an impact to this day, especially in Norway. So
Oh,
I just
I'm
want to know,
sure, yeah.
if he'd heard about it, if you had any experiences related to this. I'm not saying he is one.
No, I know. It's just you're like, hey, this happened to people from this specific area. This specific person reach out to us.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a big country.
Yeah.
Also, his name is Nordic Thunder. Like, where he could be from 3-4 countries.
Places, yeah.
But yeah, just, if you feel like it. No biggie either way. So, in other countries, it also begins that this program really kind of gets even more sinister. Like before, it kind of has that uncanny valley that a lot of the early Nazi shit had. But now they're just like, if they're SS officers who were involved in this program, in like just walking down the street, and they just see a family with what they see as the perfect Aryan child, they'll just walk up and take the kid. They'll just straight up kidnap these kids off the street and send them into this system. And then they were judged by a doctor if they were Aryan or alien. And if they were Aryan enough, they would be sent into the system. If they weren't, they'd be sent to a concentration camp.
Can you imagine, like, 30 years after all of this, you're getting married, like, so you get your wife pregnant, both of you just happen to have blonde hair, blue eyes, you know, have your first kid, and you're like, oh, yeah, it's a shitty generation, so they were like, oh, I'll also give my kid this cup, and both of you hand, like, at the same time, you're like, here's a cup, wait a second, and then you trace your lineage and find out that you're siblings.
Oh, Jesus.
That would be hell on. You're like,
that'd be crazy.
This kid is fucked.
Yeah, this kid, oof. Too bad those Nazis are gone.
Yeah, the kid manages to grab both cups and still has a free hand.
Yeah. So they start, kidnapping people. There was one guy who figured out that he was one of these kids who was kidnapped, and he found out that his parents were just given another infant.
They just switched him out.
Yeah, like they just said, oh, we took this infant, but here's another one.
Can you imagine these?
He was like from Yugoslavia or something.
They just open the window,
just
grab
completely.
That baby, just
they give
Indiana
him
Jones
brown hair. Yeah, they take the blonde hair, blue-eyed kid and replace it with brown hair, brown-eyed kid.
While the mother's breastfeeding, they're like,
yeah, just real quick. Still fresh. 3 days.
Latch.
Yeah, latch. So, obviously horrible. Completely terrible.
God.
So these kids, whether they were adopted into the system or they were kidnapped into the system, depending on their age, they were always given new German names, new German identities, and if they were old, they would go to boarding schools that focus on Germanization, or basically brainwash them into German patriotism and forcing them to forget their parents' names. If they had any family, just forget all of that. You are German now, and you will be assigned your family.
Jesus.
And you'll be happy about it. If they were young enough that they just wouldn't form those memories, they were baptized and just shipped off to whatever families, next on the list. Let's talk about this baptism, because this is not a Christian or a Catholic baptism.
No, it's fine.
This baptism involved an SS dagger and having an SS or a Gestapo dude just reading pages from Mein Kampf and doing like a ritual with the dagger with an infant.
Jesus.
And then
It's
basically
fine.
saying, you will always be one of the chosen ones from the Reich.
Oh no, you can do three voices now.
Yeah, I can. I can do that one. And
It's okay.
it was
We've
weird.
known that for a little while now.
Yeah, that one's not new. But it was just weird when I read that, because this whole time I'm like, why are they getting baptized? Like, that's kind of not what the Nazis did a lot of. Like, they took advantage of like Christian nationalism and
But it
stuff in
was-
their early days.
But it was like an SS baptism.
But it was like
kind
an
of thing.
SS baptism for the Reich, not
You've been
for any
cleansed
religion.
by Nazis.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So the babies were treated really well. Even if the entire area was starving, even towards the end of the war, these kids were fed well. They were bathed twice a day.
Yeah.
Any supplies that came in or anybody who came in to visit them was completely sterilized and disinfected and
Because
cleaned.
they're a walking, talking propaganda piece.
Exactly.
Of course.
So it was even noted, like, after the occupation, after the Nazis fell and Berlin was occupied, there were reports that, like, these babies were fat and the healthiest possible, and even with all of Berlin starving to death, these babies were doing fine.
Yeah.
So at least they did that. Like, at least they're treating these babies nicely, I guess. That's a redemption. But I know that wasn't the Nazis. That was the women they hired to take care of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was because they were huge propaganda
So
pieces. They're not.
up.
It doesn't look good if
It's
they
fucked
lose an
up on,
entire
like-
house to measles.
It's fucked up on like an even further scale when you consider like how bad it was in Germany during this time.
Exactly.
That it's like hey, not only are we like literally doing genocide on Jews, also we are like, you could be fully like through and through German born, but you just have brown eyes. And they're like, okay, we're not going to kill you because your lineage shows that you're German, but you don't look
you're not
Aryan.
pure.
So like, I'm sorry, but we're not going to give you government stipends.
Yeah, shit like that.
Like,
it's crazy.
Ooh, you worked out in the sun for the first like 20 years of your life, like heavily. Just not wide enough. You're not pale
They
enough.
have
Sorry
the scale.
about it, kid.
They have the scale.
Little fucking color scale. Just a little color palette. It's a Home Depot color palette.
Yeah.
God.
So in the
That's
Scandinavian
fucking
countries,
wild.
the program was specifically targeted at young women, and then you hook them up with an SS officer,
Yeah.
and then they give birth at the Lebensborn homes, and then they can either keep the kid or put them up for adoption. Obviously, because it's kind of you're a single unwed mother, they until the Germans left the country, almost everybody would give up their kid.
Yeah.
Because it was like social suicide to not.
Yeah,
Overall,
you're gonna tell the fucking Third Reich no.
yeah,
Good
well,
luck.
that too. And this was especially targeted to Norway, which, little background, at this point, the Norwegian government was they were complicit with the Nazi occupation. The Quisling guy, what's his name? His last name's Quisling. He was the prime minister. I learned about him because of Nordic Thunder, which is awesome, actually. But he really fucked over a lot of people in like the Winter War and just not, yeah. So you got to look at Norway through the eyes of their leader is a Nazi dick-sucking scumbag. So, because I talk about Norway a lot from this point forward. But overall, throughout the war, until the Nazis fell, 8,000 children were born in these homes in Germany, and 12,000 were born in Norway.
And what's the time period? Like in
1935 to 1945.
Oh, okay.
10 years. About 20,000 kids were born. About 20,000 kids were kidnapped.
Yeah.
But by the end of the war, this happened a lot. The Nazis destroyed all of the files
Oh, of course, yeah.
related to these. So even these kids, even if they figured out they were Lebensborn,
Yeah.
had a really hard time figuring out their lineage at all.
Of course.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about post-war.
Crazy.
So after the war, most communities outside of Germany immediately turned on the women who were involved in these programs. And I mean, you've seen the pictures, I'm sure, of like the French women who were fraternizing with the enemy, sleeping with the enemy, and they were shaved and beat and kicked out. That happened everywhere across Europe, and a lot of the women targeted were women who were in these programs. And a lot of it was, it also leans on that, oh, well, they're unwed, they're not going to be giving back to society, or they're going to raise their kids wrong, or stuff like this. But Lebensborn children were especially treated poorly in Norway. And it's because, I mean, every time there's a war and there's an occupation, people get knocked up, kids are born, and a lot of times those kids are treated like shit.
Yeah.
And especially in this case, because the Nazis were occupying Norway, and these are now their occupiers' children, is how a lot of people see them. It's rough. It's really rough for these people. Interestingly enough, the American army fathered the most children during the occupation of Berlin.
Really?
And the official military, policy on this at the time was, if this lady says she was knocked up by an American soldier, the American soldier gets asked, did you knock up this German lady? And if he says no, they drop it.
The baby on its head.
They drop the baby. No, they drop it. They say, he says no. She doesn't get anything.
Wow.
He has no repercussions. he can be honorably discharged, and it's no problem. If
But
he
if
says yes,
yes,
all of that is the same, and it's left up to him to do the right thing. Yeah, so that really helped. Yeah. That was just a little...
Greatest country in the world.
Greatest
am I right?
country in the world.
Jesus
Hell
Christ.
yeah. So, in Norway, they were called Tiskerbarnes? Tiskerbarnes? I can't. I have a really hard time pronouncing these words. So, it basically just means German children, my understanding. And yeah, as I said, the government during the war was complicit to the Nazis. The government after the war kind of went hardline opposite, saying, no, we're not going to be, this fascist government, and that kind of was not good for these children, these 12,000 children, potentially.
You don't say.
And their mothers, who are, again, unwed single mothers, which there's still a stigma to that.
We condemn Nazis. Also, we condemn your existence.
Yeah.
Bad look.
It's
Bad
not a great.
fucking
It's not a
look.
great look. I can see where they were coming from.
All these Aryan kids, we're gonna round all of you up. We're gonna put you in a fucking camp.
Well,
We're gonna separate you from society. Oh no, they're doing it again.
it's kind of Look, hindsight is 2020, and it really looks like they. Yeah, exactly. That's why I kind of want input from anybody who lives in those areas, because it would be really interesting if there were any holdovers. Because this continues. Because these are people who were born in the 40s. Like in the 1940s, for the most part, So these
Stop
kids
staring at my toes, creep.
Yeah, so these kids, are still alive. A lot of these are still alive.
There's just a bunch of Norwegian people out there that are like, fuck every blonde out there. We should just fucking
They're all blonde.
burn them all alive.
There's a lot of blonde
people.
people in Norway. So the government immediately tries to deport all the children to Germany. Germany says, we have like half our cities left.
Germany's
we cannot
like, whoa,
do this.
no offense, but we don't want them now.
Yeah. And then, for some reason, they say, "Oh, we'll send them to Brazil."
Huh?
A lot of Nazis made it to Brazil, right? We'll just send it to Brazil, and Brazil was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And then they're like, Australia."
And Argentina's like, oh, we'll take them.
Yeah, no. Australia is like, or they're like, Australia, is that still a penal colony? Like, no. What are you doing? These people have citizenship to your nation. What are you doing? So a lot of the mass deportations fell apart. A lot of the mothers saw what was going on and just chose to flee the country. A lot of them went to Sweden. Like, a huge portion of them went to Sweden because Sweden was like, okay,
Yeah.
do it. Eventually, this is not even in my notes. Eventually, Sweden, started getting child support from Germany. If they could find the German fathers, they would get back paid child
the country
support
itself?
and then the country would take that money and put it in a locked account. And then I think the kids got a portion of it, but a lot of it was just for the social programs.
Yeah.
Because these were just refugees
Damn.
fleeing into their country. So nobody really got paid.
Imagine you hit your 18th birthday and
You
the
just get a
country's
check.
like, hey, here's a check for $300K
Fuck.
because you're a Nazi baby. You're like, what?
What? I didn't get a check. No, but obviously this is a terrible situation because these kids and the mothers are being bullied. They're being abused, beat in the street, raped. It's horrible. These are kind of seen as subhumans.
Odd.
And they
Odd
called
Norway.
it... Yeah, very odd. No, they called it horizontal... what's it called? Horizontal, complicity or horizontal treason. Stuff like that, where it's like, well, you weren't a Nazi, but you were on the same level.
I see. You're Nazi adjacent.
Yeah, pretty much. And just being a Lebensborn...
Genocide adjacent.
Yeah, genocide adjacent.
Whoops.
So being a Lebensborn child was enough to get you sent to a mental asylum. Being the mother of one was enough to get you sent to a prison work camp.
Ooh.
Yeah, not good.
But why just send them to an asylum? Because of all the abuse that they had gone through?
Well, you
And
see,
they were like,
a lot of them, their mothers left the country.
Uh-huh.
Still to be, still seeing abuse and things, but not nearly on this level. So the ones who stayed behind, who either couldn't leave, or, the ones who couldn't leave.
They had to go to an asylum because they were like, I'm not being treated so nicely anymore. I can't handle it. Am I going crazy?
The Norwegian government set up like a series of halfway homes, and all the Lebensborn kids who didn't have a mother or didn't know their mother, or their mother was killed because, it was a war, were sent to these homes.
Oh.
The ones that couldn't fit were sent to mental asylums.
I see. Okay.
They were sent to these homes because at the time the government officially had a lot of these women officially checked out by a psychologist, and the psychology report said that they're asocial psychopaths with no talents or skills. They're a drag on society. They slept with the Nazis because they didn't have any skills to put forward in society. That was so horrible propaganda.
Norway just sends a huge middle finger to Germany. They're like, yeah, what do you think about your fucking Aryan race now? they're
Pretty much.
They're fucking crazy. They're antisocial.
They're psychopaths.
Germany's like, oh, what the fuck?
No, we vetted them. And then they started coming out saying these kids were bred to be the next Hitler. Like, these kids, because of their sadistic Nazi genetics, when they grow up, they're going to be a fifth column fascist group, just like Quisling, just like our prime minister who fucked us in the ass.
What a hard stance to take.
They really triple down on it. Because the whole time, a lot of it comes from they were just humiliated that they still had this reminder. It's not an excuse in any way. And this is coming from an American.
But it's just like, it's so funny to take it to like the extreme and do exactly what you're accusing them of doing
sounds that way.
While doing it to them.
So these kids were put in these halfway homes. They didn't really go to school. They didn't get any real education. They didn't get a lot of education. And they were just kind of in there until they were 18. So a lot of these kids just got released into the world in the early 60s.
Damn.
It was basically a prison, a halfway house prison.
Yeah.
And they just get released. And now it's the early 60s, and they're like, I don't even know how to do taxes, drive a car, get a job. A lot of them didn't even know how to read. So I can't imagine I always try to look at through the eyes of everybody within one of these stories. And I can't even imagine how difficult it would have been to be the mother or even the Lebensborn child themselves. You're just a kid. A lot of people, I read a lot of the personal stories of people who were Lebensborn. They're like, yeah, I was 4 years old, and my teacher only referred to me as the bastard in front of everybody.
Do you think you have a lot of sympathy for people who went through that?
Who?
These kids.
No, these are the kids.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, do you have a lot of sympathy for them? Oh, so you're an Aryan sympathizer.
Yeah. No. Oh, Jesus.
But it's fair. It's not like none of these, as silly as it sounds, they didn't choose to be born.
I literally have it written down. They did not choose to be born.
Yeah, they didn't
choose
for their
dad to be an SS officer.
Aryan. They didn't choose to be stripped away and kidnapped from their families. It's just unfortunate happenstance, and to be this government. It's I keep coming back to it, but to be this government that's fuck the Jew. Oh, sorry. Fuck the Aryan race. It's just, it's especially after they were in these positions under the Nazis where these children, the thing is, I feel They're kids. They're fucking
kids.
children. They don't know this is like going and shooting and murdering all of the Hitler Youth and being like, should have known better. And it's like, dude, these kids were raised in this environment.
Yeah.
They don't fucking know any better. They're just a product of massive amounts of propaganda, especially in this. They were bred to be where they are, but it's not like you fucking are born with your mother and father's ideals.
Yeah.
Like, it's just preposterous.
It's a whole concept of, we know eugenics is bad, and we know the
Yeah.
science behind eugenics is not accurate.
But the victims of eugenics are not the problem.
Well, no. The point I'm making is, by handling this the way that they did, they are reconfirming that the Nazis were right about. Do not clip that. They were reconfirming that the Nazis were correct in their assertion of the Aryan race. They were saying, oh, well, the Nazis bred these guys to be Aryans, so they're going to be fascists when they grow up.
Yeah,
like
what
they're like confirming that the just post World War II government of Norway was saying the Nazis were right in a way.
Yeah. And
I hope that's not taken out of context.
Own fucking roundabout way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just like reading about this, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So through these kids' childhoods,
Norway's like, we got this. People are going to agree with us. And they do it. And I mean, realistically, at the time, there were probably a lot of fucking people that were like, yeah, like, fuck them. Because
they just see them as the children of their oppressors.
Yeah.
Which,
and it's
again,
like,
the children of your oppressors are still innocent.
Yeah, they're still innocent little kids. Fuck, man.
And this whole time, their mothers are trying to shield them from the horrors of what's going on, but everybody knows that they're Lebensborn.
Boy.
But their mothers are trying to make it so that they don't even know, so that they can be at least spared from knowing. Just
this whole thing
it's horrible.
just leads to the creation of like hair dye.
Yeah.
That's the episode.
Yeah, that's a whole episode. No. So interestingly enough, fairly recently, in the 2000s, it was found that some of these Lebensborn in these, which I should really call them something else now that's like an oppressive term. These children, these victims, when they were in those government-run homes, were found to be... There's evidence that they were involved in drug trials put on by the Norwegian military,
Good Lord.
the University of Oslo, and the CIA. Was found to have done
Wow, who could
LSD
have ever fucking imagined?
and scopolamine trials on some of these kids during MK Ultra.
Fucking the hard on for LSD, man.
Dude,
God.
the CIA.
Hey, let's try it on whole Aryan kids.
Yeah, that's really what it is. They were like, well, these kids are kind of outside of society. Nobody's going to care if we do
They
this.
were fucking bred for this. Like, what the fuck is wrong
It's
with you?
really weird. That I just came across that. This is now a World War II and a CIA MK Ultra episode.
Nice.
So fuck the CIA. But yeah, LSD and mescaline and some other medications were tested on these kids. Interestingly enough, Anni-Frid Lyngstad,
Sure.
the brunette from ABBA.
Oh, I forget that she has such a preposterous name.
Yeah, she was a Lebensborn. Her grandmother saw what was happening and took her mom and her, and they fled to Sweden.
And the cup?
Probably not. And the cup. No, but her mother passed away when she was like 2.
Damn.
And she was raised by her grandmother. She ended up, they grew up, or she grew up in Sweden. She eventually met her father in the 70s. She was able to figure it out, but she was just, they just figured, there are a lot of groups from like the 70s on. Once all these kids were out,
Yeah.
they were able to find each other, group up, and start doing research
Yeah.
to figure out who their families were.
Jesus.
They really bonded, and they formed support groups. And they spent the whole, at least the groups who were still in Norway, spent the whole time just being shit on, that they just grouped together. They just stayed together.
Trauma bond.
It really was.
Fuck.
And yeah, she was able to find him, and she was like, I mean, cool, it's my dad, but I'm in my 30s.
Yeah.
So there's not really much of a connection there. But she was like, I'm glad to have met him at least. He ended up dying as a pastry chef or something like that.
Like a fucking 6-year-old ex-Nazi.
Yeah,
Damn.
100%. And a lot of these people are very conflicted about
Oh,
wanting
of
to know who
course.
their family is, but not wanting to know what they were involved in.
Yeah,
so a
that's
lot of
fair.
them were just like, hey, you're my dad, technically. I'm not saying you have to do anything. I'm not looking for money.
Just know I exist.
I want to meet you. I don't want to talk about what you did during the war, because obviously you were SS, and
Just keep baking cupcakes, Pop.
I just want to talk to you. And some people actually they did form those connections, and they did have good relationships. But
So you said her dad was a pastry chef?
he that's what he did after.
Huh.
Yeah.
None
He's
of
a
the
pastry
none of the ovens in his place were gas powered.
No, not at all. Electric only. He wasn't allowed. So obviously the Nuremberg trials happened, but because they destroyed all the evidence, they tried to get one guy on kidnapping, even though we know there were 20,000 children roughly
God.
who were kidnapped, and they couldn't pin it on a single person because they destroyed all the evidence, which is really shitty, obviously, because this is another one of those, one of the shortcomings of the Nuremberg trials. But another lady, this is real sad. I should have started with this one. Harriet von Nickel was a lady. She ended up being a Lebensborn, and she knew it. Because from the age of 2, she was chained up in the front yard of her foster parents, like a dog.
What the fuck?
At 6, a grown man threw her into a river because he, and I quote, wanted to see, or he wanted to see, and I quote, to see if the witch will drown or float.
God damn, dude.
By the time she
Did
was...
she?
Yeah,
Just
she
kidding.
floated. Yeah. No, but when she was 9... there was a group of drunken villagers who held her down and branded her on the forehead with a swastika made of old nails. And then they were about to rape her when another woman came in, saved her, probably saved her life. And then she talks about how she had to sandpaper her freshly burned forehead so that there wouldn't be a swastika there. So she would just sandpaper it. Every time it would start to heal, if you could see any of the shape, she would just sandpaper it and rescar it and rescar it.
God damn.
It's like, there's so many people. There are thousands of people who went through experiences like this because of just the hate that was just left over from. She didn't do anything. She wasn't complicit in the Nazi war machine in any way, shape, or form. The only connection is that her father was a Nazi. And she happened to be in Norway.
Jesus.
And it was still bad in other places, of course, in other countries. But it was just because Norway was so heavily targeted, they had a higher population and a higher concentration of people. And, this is still ongoing, the fight for justice, in a way, for these kids. In 2008, a group of the Lebensborn children, 122 of them, basically sought compensation from the Norwegian government for being complicit in their abuse, for spreading the propaganda, for the horrible mental institutions where they were basically just allowed to be sexually assaulted all the time.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even
And
necessarily
abused
say
and-
complicit, like encouraging.
It was
the
very
abuse against
encouraging,
them.
yeah. So they went to the Norwegian government. The Norwegian government basically said, and then they took the case to the European Court of Human Rights.
We're sorry.
It's like in the U.S.
We're
where
sorry.
you start at a lower court. Their goal was to get to the European Center for Human Rights, or Court of Human Rights.
Yeah.
So they go, they present their case, and the European Court of Human Rights says, kind of past the statute of limitations. This only happened your entire fucking lives, still to this day.
God.
But the Norwegian government was nice enough to give them roughly $8,000 each.
Oh, that's like total? Fuck, that
Each.
sucks.
Still not very much at all.
No, not at all.
But if they could somehow prove that they were physically or sexually abused, then they would get more. But how do you prove that 50 years
Jesus Christ.
after the... Yeah, so really, it's still ongoing. A lot of these people wrote books about the experience. Like, there are a ton of books about people who were brought into this world by being Lebensborn. So if you're interested in the topic, definitely check it out. You can also just find like shorter versions of their stories. Like, there was this one guy. He was like, this is kind of weird growing up, but he didn't know it was hidden from him. And he was just kind of, you could kind of tell, or he could tell that he was kind of treated differently than some of his siblings. But there was no abuse. There was nothing like that. And he was snooping a little bit in his mom's stuff and found the cup that says it had his name, and then, regards, Heinrich Himmler or whatever.
Oy.
And he approached her about it and was like, hey, what the fuck is this? But he only started snooping because his sister actually found out that she was Lebensborn. And he's like, am I? And that's when he figured it out.
Too. God damn.
So they had 2 Lebensborn in their family that they took in. And like,
at least they
this
took them
was
in.
a family who took them in and didn't abuse them and really tried their best to get around the propaganda. That was one of the happier ones. This other lady, she was, I think I mean, obviously she was born in Norway, but she thought she was German. She thought she was born in Germany. And she just kind of found out, I don't know if it was a birth certificate or some administrative thing, but she found out that she was actually Norwegian and that she was adopted. She found her mother. She went back to Norway and actually found her mother, who was in the Lebensborn program. And her mother was beaten so much that she still had scars. Like, and this is, decades later.
Yeah.
And she was still like, she was beaten so bad that's why she gave her kid up.
Jesus.
She's like, I don't want my kid to have anything to do with me if being near me this is what happens.
Wow.
So she meets her mother. Obviously, it's very, there's a lot of emotions that would have. And she gets the story out. She figures it out. She ends up living in Ireland, and she just looks like a grandma. She's happy. Yeah. She figured it all out. But there's a lot of people who have these stories where they're like, oh yeah, I thought this guy was my dad, but really, he was just... he's not my stepdad. He's the dad who stepped up.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, stuff like that. And so
there
are
parents,
a lot of...
It turns out both of my parents were just really dedicated Aryan Nazis.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Ooh. No, so there were a lot of happy stories, but I didn't find those.
We don't find those for this show.
Yeah, so that's some horrible abuse that happened.
Jesus.
Yeah, check out our Instagram for the giveaway.
To reiterate from the start of the show.
Comment. Actually, no. Let me start, and then you do yours. If you have any comments, or if you'd like to share an experience or anything, hey, r/pressure points on Reddit. Sorry, I'm hiccuping. On Reddit. Go comment on the post. There's like a little thread.
We should also probably claim r/pointsopressure and then have it redirect to ours.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should do that.
Probably do that.
Probably.
Yeah. Continue. Do you think?
No, that was it. That's all I had. So.
Each episode is stickied at the top of the subreddit for discussion every Monday. So pop on there, check it out. Subscribe to it. We've been really bad about posting anything on there because we're bad about posting anything ever except for the show. And the giveaway, like the post, make sure you follow us, tag 2 people in the comments, and then put it on your story. And we will announce the winner on next week's episode. So you have 7 days to do it. We'll probably post a reminder at some point. But yeah, go on there, share it with all your friends, tell all your friends about it. And hopefully you can get some sweet fucking merch. If you don't win and you would like merch, check out shop.pointsopressure.com or go to pointsopressure.com and then click on the shop button. That would be a better way to get to it. And if you would like to support us, go to patreon.com/pointsopressure. We give you an exclusive episode a month. You guys know the drill. Sloppy seconds, voices. You got those names?
I do. So we've got the. Hold on a second.
You have it in order? You good?
No, I do, but I thought we only had 2 chair people.
No, we had 3.
Why am I thinking we only had 2? I don't know. Okay, so sorry, a little stroke moment. Minnie D, Thomas, and Toddle Waddle, thank you guys so much. They want to point out that they do not like the Nazis.
Yeah. They were really.
There's no asterisk at the end of that.
Oddly insistent about it.
Yeah. And that they've never had a child out of wedlock.
Okay.
And then of course we've got Abby, AJ's Third Nut, Nordic Thunder, Weston, Dark Runner, Deej Nutch, G Dog, Hayden K. Whoops. Lara Revo, and Lindo. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it. You guys let us keep doing this and let us do these fun giveaways. So
yeah, we appreciate you guys. Make sure your addresses are up to date.
I know we say that a lot, but it's important.
Yeah, we mean it. Yeah, thanks. So, as always, if you guys ever have any recommendations for books, you just saw a really good movie, whether it was a historical one or you just fucking liked it, send those along. Memes, music, TV shows, magazines, dirty magazines, vintage porn mags, websites that you find.
Porn websites.
Yeah, porn websites you find. Just really anything. If you need somebody to talk to, reach out to us. You can find us on Instagram at PointsOPressure. You can also go comment on anything on our subreddit, r/pressure points, or email us at ppdnaj@gmail.com, or go to our website, pointsopressure.com, and contact us, and we will catch you guys next Monday.